In this little video, I will demonstrate a couple of small things that some of you might not be aware of, but there are typical problems with the Mustang and the Jazzmaster style tremolo. So these little things work, but they need a couple of tweaks. So let's take a look at the typical Mustang type tremolo. So this one is a new tremolo. You have to take these out of the guitar when you buy them, unless it was tweaked by someone else before. So underneath the tremolo, you find those two springs that are attached with those little loops and the tailpiece. The tailpiece itself has two notches. The notches are used to control how far and how fast the springs will be stretched. I would say that in 2019 you need to apply the springs to the further notch, to the one that's closest to the end of it. The problem here, it exists on all manufacturers, on all tremolos, is that these little loops do not hold in place well. As you see, they're easily detachable, and when you change the springs may either shift or fall off. So to stop that from happening, you need to take a set of pliers, and squeeze these. I mean, you really have to do this, because unless you never change strings, at one point they will detune you. Oh yes, also when the springs are in action, sometimes they can just fall off, you know. So these face the same direction, and that alone is a big deal in terms of making this tremolo more effective and more stable. I mean, it's a really tiny tweak that makes this tremolo much more effective. So right now they're fixed in place, and there's absolutely no way they can fall off the posts. Next thing about this tremolo is what almost no one does, but is kind of important, that this tremolo is nowhere near the level of Floyd Rose or other high-end tremolo systems. So if you want to make it smoother, you need to lubricate those two posts over here. It's best done when you take it off and apply whatever lubrication method you want to use. I just use soap because it's easy. So you soap or lubricate in a different way these two places all around, and that helps to reduce the noises actually sometimes. So when these are lubed, the movement is easier, which is basically, those two things are a big deal for this type of tremolo. Moving on to other things you might not be aware of, the bridge should rock. I stress this. If you wanna set up a Mustang tremolo with a bridge that's not rocking, it will not be as good as a properly set up tremolo with a bridge that rocks. What you actually need to do is you need to take a trem arm. So you string it up, tune it, then you take a tremolo arm and rock it once, and then you tune it again. What it does is when you move it further, the bridge sets to its farthest position. It rocks forward, and if it was too far, it will stop right there and then return to the middle position. and the guitar will be out of tune. But when you tune it again, it will be in the center, and it will be in the center and in tune. And when you look closely to how far it actually moves when you press the trem arm, the movement is very great for this type of bridge. I mean, you really have to go Van Halen or something like that to make this bridge out of tune. It's in tune. It's still in tune. It still is. I mean, it really works when the springs are fixed in place. When you tune it twice after you use the trem arm, and then when you use it for the small application that it implies, it's just perfect. Also, when you have tuning problems, you have to take a look at the headstock. On the headstock of these guitars, be it the Mustang, be it a jag-stang, whatever, you normally find those Klassen type vintage tuners. These tuners have a specific problem with the first string. Let me show it closer. I'm gonna cut off the string because I have a lot of spares, and show you how to install the strings on this type of tuner. So what I've got is this 9 string. The important thing is, with the small diameter of the string, sometimes the break angle is not perfect. This kind of tuner is not very forgiving if the angle is not correct. So normally have to have 2 pegs difference from the one that you wind. So if it's the first, there will be somewhere here. We need to make a cut. Now we have the correct length of the string, and what you should pay attention to is, on this kind of tuner, you need to press the string inside, and then it goes through this notch. When it does, it at first what most people do is you just put it in and try to wind it, which is something that would be okay for a thicker string, but when you wind it, what it does is, when you look at the string, it bends it in 2 places. One is when it goes right into the tuner, and the other is when it leaves the notch. So the place where it goes into the tuner should be 90 degrees, which is not a problem for a thicker string, but for a small diameter, it's always not exactly 90 degrees. So you better take a plier and just bend it to the 90 degrees angle. Then the string will not unwind itself. Or on the other hand, you can also, when you wind it, you can press it inside, and then you do one wind through the notch. So from the notch and then through it. And that also will keep it from unwinding. And also, you need to pay attention when you wind it. You always have to keep it tensioned. For example, under the retainer, and then you wind the string. Now it will not unwind itself from the tuner. Otherwise, this is a very common issue a lot of people have, and they blame the bridge, they blame the tremolo, whatever, anything but not the tuner, which is in fact the tuner's problem. You need to also check, if you have time, when you change the strings, check the underside of this string tree. This is the most common Fender type string tree, and sometimes they have some kind of grooves or any rough places underneath the surface. And of course those really common sense things, like you have to notch the nut properly. If you want the tuning to be stable, you need to notch them to the proper height and proper width, which is a really common sense thing in terms of guitar setup. So yeah, that would be it, I guess, for the Mustang, which is my favorite kind of tremolo, by the way. I like I really like how it interacts with the springs, how the springs change the little acoustic reverb that they give, in comparison with the Jazzmaster tremolo, which is, well, if you want to know what the tremolo gives to the sound, you need to cover the strings and listen to this. This is basically the tremolo speaking. Both tremolos have very loose trem arms when you use it. You can use duct tape or whatever, anything, just to wind it around the trem arm, and it will be very stable in the color, just like I did here. I need to probably take it out a bit. I think you can see it. There's a bit of tape inside. I never take it off, so it's just a one-time job, really. All the same goes for the setup of this kind of tremolo with the rocking bridge. So you tune it, then you press it once, it will detune, which is not the case in this place, because I already tuned it twice. Then you tune it again, and the bridge will be in the center, and that's it. I mean, it really will just move that far. I don't see any point in making this bridge fixed, because it has so much distance that it can go beyond the effective length. With this type of bridge, you have that center screw that controls the stiffness of the spring. It also controls the effective travel distance up. So if you want to hardtail it, you can just screw it in completely, and it will be a hardtail bridge. It will not rock. What also this screw does is it changes this. It changes the pitch at which the spring vibrates when you play the guitar. So really, besides the stiffness of the tremolo, you need to check out what sort of sound you want, like what kind of, how much of the natural reverb you want to get, and at what pitch it is. It really, these are small things. Usually when you apply reverb, they are very audible. I sometimes get questions, how do I use a 9.5 radius bridge on a 12-inch neck, for example. Like this guitar has a 12-inch neck. What you can do is you can use those shims. As you can see, some saddles have small shims under them. So basically you can individually raise the saddle to the height you want, and then you can adjust the bridge radius, which is very simple as this. On this type of tremolo, you also want to see what strings really function best, because they sometimes unwind the first string from here. To stop that from happening, you either change the strings until you find the ones that don't break, or you take a soldering iron and solder the ball ends. This guitar is equipped with domestic power bright strings, and I would really recommend them for this type of tremolo. Also, as you can see, I'm using a simple tremolo that you can buy from WD Music, which is better than both than Fender Japan or Fender USA. In terms of spring quality, it's very soft and very subtle. It's really very easy to use as compared to, I don't know, Mastery Tremolo is good, but I cannot justify the price for nothing but a brand name, really. So you basically need a good spring. That's all you want to have from this type of tremolo. And you also need the correct string spacing, which is also the case with this one. WD Music has these, and they are $40, which is not much.